A mighty fortress is our God, a bulwark never failing.
Yes. All right.
It's time to continue with the Q&A video.
The last one was Time Machine, Bill and Ted style. Fun fact for you. Again, ask someone else this exact same question at work. He said Lincoln. Which, not
Wait, he would bring Lincoln here, or he would go, like, see...
I might have interrupted him, and we talked about Lincoln for like 30 fucking minutes. But yeah, you go back in time to talk with Lincoln about his abolitionist ideas, which led to a really interesting segue of, when
Sorry, hold on. We gotta bring him a little closer so they can hear you.
This conversation led into a segue of when in time would you go back in time to talk to him about this, because I don't think he went into the presidency with the idea of abolitionist ideals at the forefront of his mind.
That's what it's been characterized as.
Oh yeah, it's an excellent post hoc rationalization for justification of a war that killed over half the male population of the United States at the time and plunged the country into an economic decline, which was not we didn't really recover from until World War II.
I mean, yeah, it is always nice when you win a war to spin the story to your side.
Mm-hmm.
There's some quote about that.
Which I have to say, even then, that's a more modern reinterpretation of the war, because back then, you had people deserting from the Union because they're like, wait, this is about freeing slaves? I don't like this. Now, clearly these people couldn't fucking read, because if you actually read the Emancipation Proclamation, it clearly states that slaves were not to be freed in the Union, just in the South.
You're talking about, the people within the Union?
Yeah. I mean, of course, the 13th Amendment passed not long after the end of the Civil War, but again, people weren't necessarily, generally, most of the population were not happy about that. They was kind of just like, oh, okay, well,
Rules
great.
And then it was just, rules for thee, not for me, as far as the Emancipation Proclamation.
Yeah, it is just the way I see it, and the way most people saw it back then who could fucking read, saw it as, oh, this is clearly just a desperate wartime strategy because the South is just a little too fucking good.
Yeah.
So let's try to start a slave revolt.
They were getting the asses beat off them for a while.
So, and a fun fact for you, in 1864, I want to say, Lincoln, some of his constituents, and leaders of the Confederacy joined together to negotiate peace talks, in which Lincoln said, look, if you just join the Union, you get to keep slaves indefinitely. We will not get rid of slavery. Yeah, 1864. The Confederacy was kicking ass at the time, so they said, fuck no, we're not doing that. Then they lost. About a year later. So, maybe not a good idea for people who loved slavery back then. But things turned out, in retrospect, long term, things turned out for the best with the 13th Amendment being passed, and eventually the 14th, because without the 14th you had slavery under different names until, I mean,
as
far as even into the 1950s, there was still
near
slavery being practiced. Anyhow, so the next question we have is your work in any way related to literature or academia? If not, how do you structure your time to work and still read a lot?
It is in no way connected with teaching or academia. I'm a carpenter. I build houses. But the nice thing is, summertime is a little tough because we get up early. Like I wake up around 5 and get home around 5. So we're working long hours in the summer because the sun stays up for so long. That makes it a little tough to get a lot of reading time in. But I like to wake up before I have to go to work to have like around a 30 minute space to read. And then when I get home, you know, there's plenty of things to do. I gotta cook, I gotta clean, I gotta do various things. The cleaning doesn't usually get done because I like to read instead of clean. Cleaning is kind of boring. Reading is pretty interesting. But so my house is a mess. But that's kind of how I do that. Next question. Thank you for the question. Who is that by?
It's by Zerwakawa.
Oh, by the way, I want to shout out a viewer, Robert Midler. This guy is the most like. This guy, I love this guy. He comments on every video and is like, "Thank you, Silas." And he's been watching. He's been getting some Jeopardy questions right because he's been watching the channel.
Oh yeah, that guy.
This dude rocks. Robert Midler, I think that's how you say your name. If you're watching, I love you, man. But anyways,
I'd kiss any guy. I'd kiss this guy. Look how handsome he is. I'd kiss
Robert
him right on the
Midler's extremely handsome.
You guys are still talking about Robert Midler? What a guy! You should keep talking about him. He's excellent. The next one's about
Anna. Anna is sick. I love Anna. She's awesome. All right, just want to shout out a couple people.
The next question's about how you got your house, but you already explained that, I think, in one of your last videos.
What's the question? I mean, just go ahead and read it, and I'll go through it again real quick.
Rachel Johnson asks, I was wondering if you could tell us the story of how you got your house. I'm 24, and it blows my mind that you have a house at 23. Thank you. P.S. You should write your own philosophy ideas down in a notebook or something.
Yeah, I suck at doing that. I should, though. I should try that. You're right. I got my house by staying at home and working full time and just saving, and then this house kind of came up at the right place, right time. I could afford it, and it was a buy. So that's pretty much it, you know. And real estate or houses around here are relatively cheap. They are actually quite expensive right now, and this is where we are. The town that we're in, it's expensive, but this was a good deal, a price that I could afford. So that's pretty much it for that. Thank you.
So the next one is by Silicac Mac. It says, "Hi Silas, have you ever considered reading Surrealism like some of Haruki Murakami's work? It'd be so interesting to see your thoughts on it."
Surrealism. That would be interesting. I haven't. I really haven't. But I'll have to check that out at some point, and I'll let you know what I think about it. Thank you for that question.
Next one is something. Matt, amid the pine, but he addressed it as being from Matt. Where are you from, and what's the abbreviated form of your story? No need to go into more detail than you're cool with, but you're clearly a cultured man of taste in a brain-rot world. Fascinating individuals tend to have fascinating stories. Love your content, by the way, dude. Matt.
Thank you, Matt. I don't really have that fascinating of a story, nor do I remember most of it. I've actually, you know, Sam, do you remember, like, past, you know, like, 5 years ago? Can you remember that?
Yes.
Like 2020. Do you remember? I can remember. Actually, I can remember 2020. But let's go back to like 2016. Do you remember anything?
Bits and pieces.
Yeah, I hardly remember most of what happened. Which people say is some sort of trauma response. I think I'm just forgetful.
It's a sign of nothing interesting happening.
Mm-hmm.
And if you think that you have trauma because you don't remember anything, and now you kind of like disagree with your parents, get over it. You don't have trauma. You just need to grow the fuck up. Get a goddamn job.
Straighten up.
Yeah. Or go blow your money on a therapist or something. I don't know. Maybe you actually do have problems, but
no, I think that's a
depends
real
on the
thing.
person.
I mean, I think that the brain has a wonderful way of forgetting things. I'm very happy that we can forget stuff. Like Nietzsche says, you know, the joy of forgetfulness. But, you know, my childhood was excellent, so I don't think I have any kind of trauma. an abbreviated form of my story. I think I've told this in a previous Q&A video, but so I'm not going to get into it. If you really want to know, it's not super interesting. I would just go back to Q&A video number 2, I think. But thank you for that question.
Next one is by Ham Boss. One of the things that drew me to your channel was your distinctive yet aesthetically well thought out sense of style in clothing. Where do you draw inspiration from for your style? Are there any individuals, people in your life, actors, singers, writers, whose style you like and try to follow?
Steve McQueen is a big one. Also,
Me from 3 years ago.
you from 3 years ago. Yeah, Sammy from 3 years ago. Apparently, I started buying Western, like Old West clothing, which I really like.
Pullover shirts, very comfortable.
Yeah,
All natural materials.
but I've been liking the white pants, and I got these. These are Veldskone Vellies.
Modern Brogan.
Cool shoes. I like usually on the job site. You go to work, you don't get to dress nice. You got it because they're gonna get destroyed. But anytime I'm free, I like to dress considerately and nicely. So I would draw inspiration from Steve McQueen and Daniel Craig in the James Bond movies, which I think is also kind of, it's just classic. I think that somebody said it's like old money style. Apparently that's a thing. I don't know what that is. Some Instagram thing.
I think it's just the transition from the Edwardian era into the post World War II era, like Europe and America.
Maybe. I don't really know. I just kind of, sometimes I dress completely unorthodoxly as well. I don't know much style wise, so I just kind of go with whatever catches my eye as far as like clothing. I'll buy like vintage Levi. I've been buying vintage like 70s Levi work shirts, which I really like. Stuff like that is cool, and you can get it on eBay for, you're not gonna get it for like for like Goodwill prices, but honestly Goodwill is getting kind of expensive, like $8+ for a good shirt. Yeah, you might spend like $20-$30 on a shirt, but it's a nice shirt and it's a vintage shirt and it's like, it's worth it to me. Anyways,
Next question is from Layan Malhimarani. Do you ever find yourself being hypercritical or constantly second guessing yourself? And if so, how do you keep it from becoming obsessive or overwhelming?
I try not to think about it too much. I mean, that's like everybody tries not to think about it too much. Reading comments doesn't help because there's so many negative people that it's like, but I want to read people's comments and I want to interact with people, but sometimes it's just like the vibe that you get from people is just, why are you have such a chip on your shoulder, man? Like,
Just fucking smoke.
I'm not even talking about that. Just the way people, just like the way people phrase stuff. Like, man, just lighten up a little bit. Like, we don't gotta be so pedantic and like, why are you being disrespectful right now? It seems like maybe I'm just reading into it too much. But as far as being hypercritical, yeah, I've suffered from that a little bit. I think everybody does. Everybody kind of have a tendency to be self-aware, or like to a negative extent of like constantly analyzing what they think other people think of them. And to some level, you got to just sort of create a shortcut in your brain to thinking about other things, I guess. I don't know. Sam, do you ever get like that?
Yeah.
Hypercritical of yourself?
Oh, yeah.
What about?
Oh, there's a number of different things: social interactions, job performance, stuff like that. Basically, you just try to learn from it. That's
Yeah.
the thing. Is like, yeah, you're gonna fuck up. That's naturally going to happen. So long as you learn from it,
It's
that's
annoying
what
though, like
defines
that
whether or
your
not it's a bad thing or not.
your moods can like kind of switch. Like for me, it puts like a dampener on things sometimes, where it's like, I don't know. Yeah, you start to overthink things like that, and your mood is just off. And then, a couple hours go by and it's gone. But it's just so annoying that, like, within that hour or so, you're kind of, like, perturbed a little bit. So I'm trying to get a little better at that. I've gotten much better at it. I think I used to think about that stuff a lot more, but I think I'm getting better at it. Anyways.
I think you just need to find a different point of focus.
Yeah.
And
I mean, you get focused on something else, and you just kind of forget about it.
Yeah. But, okay, next one is from Mr. Nice Guy Jin. You seem like a pretty interesting guy in general, even beyond the reading thing. And it seems you've got your shit together, especially for being in your early 20s. Excuse me. I'd be interested in hearing your story, other hobbies, lessons learned, your upbringing, influential people in your life in Kansas, tornado stories, your taste in furniture, and what a typical day looks like for you, favorite movies / shows, music, food, how do you keep active, etc. Anything you want to share is cool.
Oh, thank you. That's a lot of things. Well, I try to share a lot of my interests now that I have people watching. How do I stay active? Weightlifting and work, I stay pretty active at work. What else? I think I've told people my hobbies is just basically weightlifting, shooting, reading, and then just kind of hanging out with people that you're around, and you can get up to all kinds of stuff with your buddies, So, but those are the main things, I would say. Thank you. I don't know if I have my shit together, and I do for the point of life that I'm in now. I really don't have that many responsibilities other than just, eating. Which my diet, people ask me about that. I think you said something about that. What do I like to eat? A lot of beef and rice, chicken and rice, easy stuff to make that I don't really count like macros or anything like that, but I have some good meals that I'm good at making and that are easy to make because I'm not like a foodie. Like, I'm not into like food. As long as it has some sort of sustenance that is helpful to me, then my stomach gets full. I'll eat it. I'm not a picky eater whatsoever. So as long as it's easy to make and it gets me energized, then I'll eat it. Not a super regimented on the diet. What else? What else was in that?
Tornado stories, life in Kansas, taste in furniture. Typically, it looks like for you, favorite movies, shows, music, food. So you done food.
Yeah, movies. I've said this a million times to people. No Country for Old Men. Any Michael Mann movie, pretty much. Heat, Thief, Collateral. Come on, what are some other Michael Mann? I was gonna say Public Enemies, but it's kind of meh. I mean, it's a good movie. Scorsese's great, obviously. Trying to think of like a really good movie. Me and Sam watched this one that was so strange, and I actually quite enjoyed it. But it was very strange. You know what I'm talking about?
Dragged Across Concrete.
Dragged Across Concrete. You got Mel Gibson as an old guy, old cop trying to make ends meet.
He's a race realist.
He's a race realist.
I think that's the term people would use for him. Yeah.
Okay. I don't know. What does that mean? You might not want to talk about that.
Yeah, I'm not sure that I can, but essentially he notices.
He's a noticer.
Yeah, he notices certain things, that certain populations of minority groups, certain behaviors that they tend to exhibit, and in some cases he sort of associates that with an entire racial group. But then there's plenty of other times where no, it's
So he's
not.
I
I think
yeah, it is kind of a racist movie in some ways. It's like kind of
well, that's the thing. There's multiple racial groups in that movie. There's a lot of racial stuff that gets thrown around in that movie, but you have different people of different races throwing racist shade at people of different races throughout the entire movie.
yeah. It's in some ways a little unclear like what the message of the movie is because he lives. If any of you have seen this movie, you'll know what we're talking about. But like, he lives in a pretty ghetto location. He's a cop that like could have moved up at a certain point, but he's too much of a beater. He beats.
Yeah.
He's like kind of cop, like brutal, doing some police brutality.
He's
and
living
so
he has a 50s and 60s policing mentality, which is not legal.
it's
anymore.
hands-on, let's say.
Yeah, let's just say it involves a lot of racial profiling, breaches of the Constitution, denial of people's rights. That goes with breaches of the Constitution. A lot of police brutality, and
So he's a bit of a morally gray character,
Yeah.
you could say. But he's a sympathetic character because he has a disabled wife and a kid, and they're living in the ghetto. This guy works his ass off, and he's barely making ends meet. He needs to make ends meet so that he can afford the medication for his wife. So they get this idea that they're going to stake out
drug
some
dealer.
a drug dealer. They think it's a drug dealer at first. It turns out to be bank robbers. And there's a very crazy, weird bank robbery scene that happens where characters are sort of set up. The movie watches in the same way that certain Cormac McCarthy books read.
Yeah, that's a very good way of describing it.
It's a strange film, but I would recommend checking it out. It's a little bit. It's made by the same people that made Bone Tomahawk. It's a very weird film, but interesting and sort of. I think if you edited it down to be about half as long, it would be twice as good.
Yeah, there's a lot that could be cut out of it. Again, a lot of that just like mundane stuff, like Mel Gibson's partner eating an egg sandwich for like 5 minutes.
Why is this happening? It's all part of like this stakeout. I understand that it's sort of this realism that stakeouts are not exciting and that you kind of just have to sit there and watch. But as an audience, do we have to see all of this? But it's an interesting movie, I'll say that. It's one that I still think about. And if I still think about it, it must mean that it was good in some way.
Also, there's no music.
No music. Kind of like No Country for Old Men.
Well, even with No Country for Old Men, there was like ambient music in the background.
Yeah.
But with this movie, no, there's absolutely no score whatsoever.
I'm trying to think if they did something similar to No Country for Old Men though, with some sort of ambient like noises. I'm not sure though.
I don't think they did. Because I mean, it's a low budget movie, which it works in the movie's favor. I think.
The thing that I really hated about it is with these low budget movies, they use digital cameras and the lighting is just like too sterile and perfect, and it just like takes you out of it. If this movie were like made, because he described it to me before, because he watched it before I did, and then we sat down and watched it. But when he described it to me, I was thinking about young Mel Gibson or younger Mel Gibson in like the 90s. And I was picturing this whole story on film with like 90s guns, 90s style, like everything. And I was like, this sounds like an amazing movie. and then you watch it, and it's just kind of too modern feeling and too sterile.
It's kind of perfect thematically. It's
Yeah.
I think the movie is sort of supposed to make you uncomfortable, and I think the cinematography and the lack of score plays into that.
That very well could be, but it's still sort of uncomfortable and disturbing to see.
Yeah, it's sort of a hard watch. I'm not gonna lie, but
Yeah.
it's good.
What? How did we even get on that?
Movies and TV that you like.
Hmm. That should be about it for that one. What's the next?
Oh, this is the last one. Hey man, can you tell us more about your old Lego videos and any beginner-friendly photography books you recommend?
The Lego movies is just kind of something that I used to do when I was a kid, you know. I was always kind of fascinated with movies and stuff like that, and that was like a small scale version of like making stuff, and I kind of got into it. Plus, there was like back then people were making Lego stop motions that were pretty good, like Keshin 8, who's making Lego Black Ops. I mean, it was awesome. So I watched those and I was like, oh man, I want to do that. And so that's pretty much the Lego thing. But what was the other part of that?
Any beginner-friendly
Photography.
yeah, or philosophy. Whoops.
Oh, philosophy. Marcus Aurelius, pretty beginner friendly. Any of the Stoics probably would be very beginner friendly and good overall. So I'd recommend that. But yeah. So that's all the questions.
That's it. Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Where to go from here?
Time to start smoking.
You got anything else to say?
This is about you.
Okay. Well, we're trying to make one about you. I might let the Q&A post sit for a little while and see if anybody wants to ask any questions. But
As of now, there's 11 questions on the Q&A you put up for me.
yeah,
About 7 hours old. So
I might let it go till next week and see if anybody asks any more questions, and we'll make more with you in the pilot seat.
oh boy.
Okay, end of Q&A.